Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into something that affects, well, a whole lot of us. Insulin resistance. And, our listeners are all about those aha moments, those efficient learning experiences. So we're going to break down how this condition actually works and then explore the potential role of an animal-based diet in managing it. Ready to go deep.
Always up for a deep dive.
Yeah.
So insulin resistance, right? It's basically when your cells just kind of stop responding properly to insulin. It's almost like, insulin's knocking on the cell's door trying to deliver that glucose, but nobody's answering.
Oh, so it's like a cellular communication breakdown.
Yeah.
And what happens then? Does the glucose just kind of build up in the bloodstream?
Exactly. It's like a traffic jam, way too much glucose with nowhere to go. And that can lead to, well, feeling tired all the time, brain fog, trouble losing weight. And you even increase your risk for some pretty serious conditions down the line, like type 2 diabetes.
Wow. Okay. I actually didn't realize how common it was or that it could have so many different effects. So where does an animal-based diet fit into all of this?
Well, research suggests that focusing on foods like high-quality meats, healthy fats, and low-carb vegetables can actually significantly improve your insulin sensitivity. It's not like a cure-all, of course, but it's a pretty compelling approach to managing insulin resistance.
I'm intrigued. Can you break down why this particular approach seems to work?
Yeah, there are three main benefits that we've found. So first off, by cutting back on carbs, like significantly reducing them, you're basically lowering the demand for insulin in the first place. Less carbs equals less glucose flooding your system, gives your cells a break.
Ah, so like less knocking on that cell door. But what happens when we are producing insulin? How does the animal-based diet affect that part of the process?
Okay, well, that brings us to the second benefit, blood sugar stability. So, unlike refined carbs, the kind that send your blood sugar on a roller coaster ride. Well, the foods that are emphasized in an animal-based diet, things like beef, eggs, chicken, these tend to promote a much smoother, steadier blood sugar response, which helps protect your cells from more damage, creates a more balanced environment internally.
Okay, so stable blood sugar. Sounds good. What about the third benefit?
This one might be a bit of a surprise. When you drastically reduce your carb intake, your body actually switches to burning fat for fuel instead of using glucose. It's called ketosis. And studies have shown this not only helps with weight loss, it can dramatically improve your insulin sensitivity.
Wait, so you're saying that eating more fat can actually improve my body's ability to use insulin better? Seems counterintuitive.
Right. But the human body is incredibly adaptable. By switching to fat as its primary fuel source, you're essentially giving your insulin receptors a chance to reset and become more responsive.
That's fascinating. So less reliance on glucose, more stable blood sugar, and better insulin sensitivity through fat burning. Sounds like a pretty powerful combo. But what does this actually look like, on a daily basis? What are we eating here?
Okay, imagine this. A juicy ribeye steak, a couple of eggs cooked however you like them, and maybe some sautéed spinach with, I don't know, a little drizzle of olive oil. That's just one example of a meal that fits perfectly with the principles of an animal-based diet.
I have to say that actually sounds pretty delicious, but I'm noticing the research emphasizes quality food a lot. Can you talk about that a bit more?
Absolutely. It's not just about eating any animal products, right? Prioritizing those high-quality options makes a huge difference. Like choosing grass-fed beef over conventionally raised beef, it gives you a much higher concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, and those have been directly linked to improving insulin sensitivity.
So it's about getting the most nutritional bang for your buck, basically. What else should we keep in mind?
Another big one is incorporating healthy fats. The research specifically calls out tallow, butter, and avocado oil.
I mean, I'm all for avocado oil, but tallow and butter, those don't exactly have the best reputation when it comes to healthy eating.
True, they get a bad rap sometimes. But remember, we're talking about natural, unprocessed fats here. Tallow, rendered beef fat, it's actually a great source of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, and butter,
Yeah.
especially from grass-fed cows, contains butyrate, which is this short-chain fatty acid. It's been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties, and it's good for your gut health, too.
Okay, so nutrient-dense choices. Got it. What about the last tip from the research?
This one is probably the simplest, but honestly, it can be the hardest one to follow. Minimizing processed foods. That means cutting way back on sugar, refined carbs, and all those industrial oils, like seed oils.
Right, yeah. I think most of us kind of know that those aren't exactly health foods, right? But can you explain why they're especially bad for someone who's dealing with insulin resistance?
It comes back to that blood sugar roller coaster we talked about earlier. Processed foods, they're usually packed with those refined carbs that make your blood sugar spike like crazy, which just puts so much stress on your insulin system. Plus, on top of that, they're often full of unhealthy fats, artificial ingredients, all kinds of additives, and all that can lead to inflammation, which just makes insulin resistance even worse.
So a double whammy of bad news for blood sugar control.
Okay.
But what about the downsides of an animal-based diet? I mean, is it right for everyone?
That's a really good question. And, it's important to acknowledge this isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. Some people might have their own reasons for not eating animal products, personal reasons, ethical reasons, or maybe they have some health conditions that need a different approach. It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian. Figure out the best plan for you.
For sure. Personalized guidance is key. It's pretty amazing how all these different pieces fit together, you
Yeah.
know? What stands out to you the most from everything we've talked about?
I think for me, it's just realizing how much what we eat really affects our bodies, like down to the cellular level. It's easy to get stuck on things like counting calories or the latest fad diet, but this really highlights how important it is to understand why we're making certain food choices, and especially how those choices affect our hormones, our metabolism, all that stuff.
Totally. It's like a light bulb moment,
Yeah.
honestly. I feel so much more empowered to make better decisions, not just for me, but for my family too.
That's great to hear. That's what we want with these deep dives, right? To spark curiosity, share valuable information, and hopefully give you the knowledge to make choices that support your health and well-being.
So as we wrap up this exploration of insulin resistance and the whole animal-based diet thing, what's the main takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that an animal-based diet is a really valuable tool when it comes to managing insulin resistance. It's not a magic solution or anything, but it's a scientifically sound approach. And it's especially relevant if you're struggling with things like blood sugar, energy levels, managing your weight.
And like we've said, it's always best to personalize any diet changes, work with a healthcare professional.
Right, exactly. So, to leave our listener with something to think about, given all the potential benefits and challenges of animal-based diet, what factors would you consider when making choices about your own health? What's important to you?
Such a good question for all of us to consider. It's a personal journey, for sure. And the best path is the one that aligns with your values, your goals, your overall well-being.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
What's really interesting to me, it's like this diet tackles insulin resistance from all these different angles.
Yeah.
It's not just about cutting carbs. It's like giving your body the stuff it needs to work right.
Yeah, exactly. It's about supporting your cells instead of just constantly flooding them with glucose.
Right. It's almost like switching from like a reactive approach to a proactive one.
Yeah.
Instead of always trying to manage those blood sugar spikes, you're setting yourself up for success right from the start.
Exactly. And the really cool part is we're just scratching the surface of what this approach can do. There's so much research happening right now looking at how animal-based diets affect all kinds of health markers, cholesterol, inflammation, the whole nine yards.
It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? Just changing what you eat can have such a big impact on your overall health.
It really shows you how connected everything is in our bodies and how much power we have to influence our health just by making different choices every day.
Absolutely. So to our listener who's been with us this whole time learning about insulin resistance and animal-based diets, what's the final message you want to leave them with?
Just remember, knowledge is power. We've gone through the science, the benefits, all the things to think about. Now it's up to you to decide if this is something that fits with your goals, your values.
And like we always say, if you're thinking about making big changes to your diet, talk to a doctor or a registered dietitian. They can help you figure out what's best for you.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the best diet is the one that makes you feel your best and helps you live a healthy, vibrant life.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of animal-based diets and insulin resistance. We hope you learned some stuff, got some new insights, and maybe even feel a little inspired. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.